Creating synergistic teamwork. Business success comes from having successful relationships, relationships with employees, with teammates, with suppliers, vendors, customers, uh, regulators, banks, accountants, lawyers. All your relationships are important. Many times people talk about the fact that the customer is number one, and the customer certainly is important, but number one relationship needs, or your number one relationships need to be with your employees because they're the ones that take care of the customers. And successful relationships are built on trust, and trust comes from a combination of things, but most important, effective communication. When we take a look at, let's do this here. Okay, when we take a look at this chart, the x-axis is cooperation, the y-axis is trust. And as trust goes up, or let's say it this way, when trust is low, cooperation is low, and you have defensive relationships. You have win-lose relationships or lose-win relationships. But as trust goes up, cooperation also goes up, and you have a more respectful relationship. And it's typically based on a compromise. Someone has to give something up, or both parties need to give something up. But as trust gets even higher and higher, cooperation gets higher and higher, and we have what we call a synergistic or a win-win relationship. Now, when we take a look at, let's see here. Well, phooey. Okay, there we go. All right, we cannot, and here's the key thing. We cannot demand cooperation. We can only gain it through building trust relationships. A high level of trust is needed for synergy to occur. Organizations can't function effectively without a bedrock level of trust and cooperation. Trust can accelerate, and mistrust can destroy any business or relationship. Excellent teams have synergy. Synergy occurs when two or more people cooperate to generate results greater than the sum of the parts. When trust is low, people tend to be defensive. As trust grows, people are more willing to compromise and cooperate. When trust is high, we can have synergistic relationships where a lot gets accomplished. Particularly in a small organization or a small team, a lot of times people need to do other people's jobs to pick up the slack. Because of imbalance in workloads and what have you. And that's where cooperation is really, really important. Okay, the first step in building trust is to develop rapport. And rapport can be defined as a harmonious and understanding relationship between people. To have a harmonious and understanding relationship, we need to do more than communicate. We need to connect. And how do we connect? The factors that determine how you connect with people include how you look, how you act, what you say, how you say it, and how you respond to them. Let's take a look at those one at a time. How you look. Do you look trustworthy? Do you look likable? Do you look believable? How do you act? Do you act trustworthy, likable, believable? What you say are the words that you use. And although words are only a small portion of a total communication, with the tone and inflection being very important and the nonverbal facial expression and body language being important, words are powerful. Words can encourage or discourage, motivate or demotivate, build up or tear down, help or hurt. Words are powerful. And then how you say it. That's in phrasing, tone, inflection, volume, pace. All of those affect how people receive your message. And all those are you're sending, and then how you respond to them means, are you attentive? Are you listening? Are you responsive? Are you respecting their what they have to say? And that's very powerful as well. Now, those are some tips on connecting. And then to have a synergistic relationship, people need to like you or like us. They need to understand us. They need to believe us, and they need to trust us. And that's a two-way street. Now, on the like you, studies have been done on trust, and they found out that the magnetic trait, the trait that attracts people to us, the number one, although there's lots of things, the number one magnetic trait is gratefulness. That when people are grateful, it exudes and it walks in front of them, and it permeates the relationships, and people are attracted to us, and they want to they want to like us, they want to understand us, they want to believe us, they want to trust us. The opposite of the magnetic approach is repellent. And the number one repellent by the same study is people who constantly complain about things they can't control. And let's face it, most of the things that are complained about are not within the complainer's control. So that's like you. Understand you. We need to make sure when we're communicating that our intent, what we intend to communicate, lands like we want and has the impact that we want it to have. That when we're face to face in a communication, we have 100% going for us. We have words, we have tone, inflection, we have volume, pace, we have facial expressions, we have body language. But over the phone, we lose a high percentage of that. We lose more than half of that power over the phone. And email, we lose almost 90% of our effectiveness in email. So we need to be careful that with emails that people understand us, because our intent might not land or have the impact that we intended. And people need to believe us before they'll trust us. And then they need to trust us. And lumping those two things together, some of the most important things you can do is say what you're going to do and then do what you say. You need to be honest. I grew up in a small town, and my mom said, the truth will find you out. And I found out on many occasions that she was right about that. All right, let's take a look then at where our words come from. Every thought, every feeling, every action has an energy consequence. Every day you can make a difference in someone's life by the words you speak and write. We already touched on this briefly, but words can encourage or discourage, motivate or demotivate, build up or tear down, help or hurt, create joy, create sadness. Some magic words. We heard two of the magic words that we learned early on. Well, I guess it's 3 words: please and thank you. Okay, and those are important in any communication, whether it's with employees or bosses or vendors or contractors or customers, whoever it might be. Having empathy for people, saying things like, I understand. And you really need to try to understand, so you're not just saying that, but show some understanding and have empathy for the other person. It's not all about you. Another phrase is, what do you think? People love to give you their opinion. So ask people what they think, particularly important with employees. But it can also be true of customers and other folks as well. How can I help is a powerful phrase. Even if they don't think they need your help, they'll appreciate the fact that you ask. Tell me about it is a very subtle phrase that can really get people to open up. They say, well, I've got this problem, or I've got this goal, or they start telling you about something going on in their life. Just say, tell me about it. That will encourage them to keep talking. And then if they pause or take a breath or what have you, say, well, tell me more. Then what happened? So encourage people to talk and then listen, really listen. Because is a magic word as well. When people understand why, George Patton in World War II, General George Patton in World War II said, don't tell people how to do things, tell them what to do and why it needs done, and they'll move heaven and earth for you. So when you add because to it, so you say, I'd really like you to finish this report by Friday because I need to present it to the board on Monday. And I want to review it over the weekend. So adding the word because becomes a magic word. And then, for those special people in your life, or when you want to build people up, let them know that you believe in them. Let them know that they're special. Let them know that you appreciate them and you're grateful to have them in your life. And those are just a few of the many, many magic words that are available to us. Now, we also have some words and phrases that we need to eliminate, things like, or replace. When you tell people you should have, that's very parental. That's like wagging a finger in their face. And instead of saying you should have, say next time. Much gentler, much nicer, and it's forward looking instead of backward looking. You should, again, is also parental. And we want to say things like, you'll want to because. There's that because word again. Okay, and this is a biggie with clients in particular, customers. Our policy is, or the rules are, or you have to. Those are all relationship diminishers or even destroyers. So instead of saying our policy or the rules or you have to, say, here's what we can do, or the best way to handle that is, or the easiest way to handle that is. And those are much gentler, forward-looking supportive type of phrases. But it's a big one. Anytime that we use but in a sentence, people are waiting for what follows the but. They usually think it's going to be negative. So instead of saying but, substitute and. So when someone does something that maybe needs adjusting, whatever, you say, that was really good the way you did such and such. Instead of saying but, say and. Next time, if you'll add this to it, it'll be even better. So substitute and, eliminate but and replace it with and. If is another biggie. If is tentative. So instead of saying if, say when. No problem is maybe a little pet peeve of mine. Maybe it's not as big a deal as I think it is. But when you thank someone for doing something for you and they say no problem, I think it's better to say my pleasure or happy to do it. Something like that. All right. Now let's take a look at some relationship building tips. There's 20 of them here. We have the first 10 on the screen. Remember and use people's names. Dale Carnegie wrote in the 1930s that people's names are music to their ears, and when you use people's name, you remember their name. That shows that you care about them, and then when you use their name, that helps you connect. Get to know them as a person. I often joke, it's really not a joke, but I often say it's hard to motivate a stranger. Well, it's hard to get a stranger to cooperate with you as well. So get to know them as a person. What are their hobbies? What are their interests? What are their favorite sports teams? What do they do in their free time? What about their family? What do they like? What are their strengths? What are the areas that they excel in? Number 3, have a goal for every interaction. When you interact with somebody, plan in advance what your goal is, what your intent is, and maybe even put it right up front in your communication. My goal today in this meeting is, or my intent is, or what I'd like to accomplish is, put that intent right up front. It's going to help you have a better communication. Number 4, choose your words and phrases carefully. Guard your tone, inflection, pace, and volume. The 4 and 5 are really, really important because the words, the phrases, the tone, inflection, pace, and volume can turbocharge your message, or it can torpedo your message. Number 6, make sure your facial expressions and body language are congruent with your message. That a lot of times we'll say, boy, you really did a good job, and then we'll roll our eyes or look away or in some other way, and they'll believe what they see over what they hear every time. Number 7, use questions, not just answers. There's an old saying that telling ain't selling, asking is. So ask questions rather than tell people what to do. I think you'll find, again, you'll connect better. Number 8, building relationships is continuous. You improve it with every interaction. It may take numerous interactions to build trust, and trust can be destroyed with one serious negative interaction. So guard your tone, inflection, pace, volume, your words, your phrasing, and all the things that could torpedo your communication and your relationships. Number 9 is make good eye contact. That our eyes have more nerves in them than any other part of our body. And when we're making eye contact, it's hard to think about anything else, and it shows respect. Number 10, smile. Obviously, you want a genuine and authentic smile. Number 11, discuss non-controversial subjects. Now, that might be changing a little bit now, but when I was growing up and early in my business career, we were told not to discuss religion, politics, or sex. And now with social media, there's all sorts of controversial subjects, and it's better not to engage that, particularly when you're talking about building business relationships. No use arguing about stuff that you can't do anything about. Number 12, give sincere compliments. My recommendation is to practice doing that even on strangers, someone at a checkout counter, someone you're standing in line with. Just you notice something about them you like, how nice they're dressed, or their purse, or their glasses, or just something that you notice about them, or something that you notice that they did. Give sincere compliments. 13, talk more about them, less about you. Use phrases like, tell me more. What happened next? That's interesting. Wow, I bet that was something special. That's going to make them feel special. It's going to get them to open up, and you're going to learn a lot more about them. And it'd be a lot easier to get cooperation in the future. Number 14, stay in the moment. Wherever you are, be there. Focus, concentrate. You're going to learn something. You're going to show respect for the other person, and you're going to connect better, and you're going to get a lot more cooperation. 15, treat people like winners. Otherwise, you'll be perceived as being condescending. Number 16, make and keep commitments. That's when you don't do that, that's a great way to torpedo or damage trust. Number 17, admit mistakes, apologize, and fix them. Bear Bryant, the famous football coach, Texas A&M and in Alabama, said it's okay to make a mistake, but when you make it, learn from it, fix it, and don't ever make it again. Don't make the same mistake twice. Number 18, avoid having hidden agendas and using manipulation. People can read our mind, and that's good because we can determine what's in our mind to read. But at the same time, if we have a hidden agenda and we're trying to manipulate somebody, they can sense that, they can feel that, and that's going to damage or destroy the relationship. Number 19, be an encourager. Disney has two sayings that they train their associates. The number one is when people come onto the property, give them a warm welcome, and when they leave, give them a fond farewell. We can do the same thing in our relationships, and again, it'll help us connect and help us build better relationships. And then number 20, we need to be grateful. And one of the things that you can practice doing is tell people you're grateful and why you're grateful for them and for what they did. And then one last thing on being grateful is at the end of every day, and maybe even at the beginning of every day, just write down 1, 2, or 3 things that you're grateful for, or 1, 2, or 3 people that you're grateful for. It might be family, it might be health, it might be your job, it might be your boss, it might be a customer, it might be something that somebody did for you. Anyway, be grateful and you'll be more magnetic, you'll have better relationships, and you'll have more business success.